Hello and welcome to Sons of Ours podcasts. My name is Deacon Micah Flores, and today with us we have Michael Sparks.
Hello everyone. It's a great joy to be here.
Yeah, so it has been a hot second. It has been a long time since we've recorded a podcast. Michael and I were doing the math. It's probably been a year and a couple months. And so it's a great joy to be back. It's a great joy to be back recording, back in the studio. And it's also a great joy to be with Michael. So Michael is in his second year of seminary. He's in first philosophy. And tell us where you're from, Michael.
So I'm originally from a small town in Dolores, Colorado.
Dolores, Colorado.
Yeah. Small little town. Probably no one's heard of it. So
yeah. So Michael would have joined seminary probably, it was a couple months before we recorded our last episode. But it's awesome. It's awesome to be here and awesome to have him on air. He was actually a listener of the podcast
long time
before he joined seminary. And so it's cool to just see God's providence at work and to have him be on it now. So we're looking forward to hearing more about Michael's story. And it's weird. I was talking with Michael before. It's super weird being on the podcast, knowing that Deacon Ian is now Father Ian, and then Deacon Tony is now Father Tony. And they're off. They're not even at the seminary anymore. They're out in their respective parishes. They both got incredible assignments. Their dream assignments, dare we say. Father Tony is up in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. He's at St. Stephen's Parish. And then Father Ian is in Flagstaff, Arizona. And if he listens to this, he's going to kill me because I don't even remember the name of the parish.
St. Francis, I believe.
St. Francis?
I'm pretty sure. I went there this summer, so.
Oh, okay. What were you doing out there?
I was driving to LA, but yeah, it was great to see him.
Nice. Okay, so you got to spend a few days with him.
No, I wish I would, but it was only a few hours.
Oh, okay. So did you go to mass there then?
Yeah,
and then,
yeah.
Okay.
Kept going.
Okay. Did you have dinner with him or anything?
No. It was just quick. I wish I would have.
Stop.
Quick stop. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. And so I've talked with them a little bit. I've gotten to go up and visit with Father Tony a few times. I went up to Glenwood Springs in October for our break, and went fishing with him a little bit, of course. And he's been doing well. He's just loving being a priest, and so it's amazing being at this point in seminary, because it's like some of my closest friends, Father Ian, Father Tony, Father Sean Conroy, some of these guys, Father John Stapleton, Father Peter Sursich, who's out in Rome. Some of my closest friends from seminary are now priests. And so, calling them father is a little strange. It's like going up to him and Father. And it's like, wow, oh my gosh, you're a priest. Yeah. Especially those first couple months. Yeah. So, and then it's just like really strange not having them at the seminary anymore. And so that's kind of what we were talking about before the podcast, was just like thinking about going to recording one when they're not even in seminary anymore. And so it's a beautiful gift. And I think sometimes in seminary we kind of lose sight that like, oh yeah, like one day we're going to be ordained.
And you here shortly,
right? Yeah.
What, 6 months?
Yeah. So 6 months in May, set for ordination to the priesthood. And then I was ordained a deacon last February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day.
How's that been?
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, it's wild. 'Cause I mean, what I was just saying, it's like, you don't really, like when you're in seminary, it's hard to think forward and just like realize that, okay, one day, like I will be ordained. Like I'm not just going to be in seminary the rest of my life, but
it's such a long time.
Exactly.
So
it's such
like
a long formative period. Yeah. And so, last year, like once ordination was in sight and everything, and then actually being ordained to the diaconate, just seeing how like everything was starting to change. And finally getting to like get a taste of ministry and to finally be consecrated and given to the Lord, and to make that promise, to make that gift of self that you think about and you've been praying about like for the past 6 years, to finally be able to do it. It's just like, oh man, like it's awesome. And I think what's been amazing for me, especially those first couple months, was just like the different moments in ministry and the day of ordination and these different moments throughout the past year. Just having that experience of like, this is literally what God has made me for. Like this is what He's created me to be, like who He's created me to be and what He's created me to do. Like this is my mission. So getting to experience that and taste that in a small way, I think, for the diaconate, and then just knowing what's to come and knowing that even the diaconate isn't that's the foundation of everything, but realizing that God is not only calling me to be a deacon, but to be a priest. And so to just get to see the vocation unfold and
that makes sense.
And then discover yourself anew in that vocation of what God has called you to do.
That's like truly beautiful.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Just like to see that in fruition. I come to fruition, and it's just
exactly.
I just that's such a beautiful thing to see, coming from like being a second year guy. It's like I just am so inspired by that, you know.
Good, yeah. I mean, because in the first couple of years of seminary, it's just like it's so far away. You know, it seems like it's so far away, but it's not.
It can sometimes.
To just experience the power of God working in and through your life is just something special.
Wow.
So that's kind of been like a little bit for me of what it's been to be a deacon, I guess, so far. I've been up at St. Francis of Assisi in Longmont, so a different St. Francis than Father Ian. And so I was there. I started my assignment up there last May, and then I'll be there until ordination to the priesthood. And so getting to do baptisms and to preach, and
that's so cool. How is it like what was your first baptism like? Like baptizing?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, not to like put go into details.
It was amazing. I think it's just being in those different positions of ministry. You just really get to experience that, like it really is Jesus, the one who's working.
Wow.
And experiencing your own weakness throughout seminary, and even just like for me as a deacon, experiencing my own weakness, and then seeing in those moments when you're with the people standing and you're with the people to serve them, that like Christ is the one who's shepherding his flock. Christ is the one who's baptizing souls. Christ is the one who's bringing about the new life and grace and all these different things. And so it's Christ is the one who's acting through you, and experiencing that power of him it's just like so humbling and so incredible at the same time. So that was
that's incredible.
Yeah, a couple different times that I've gotten to do baptisms. That's been my experience. So yeah, a great joy. So
good.
Okay, so that's been a little bit for me. The past year, ordination, last year of seminary, everything. But for you just finished spirituality year.
Yeah.
You're moving into your second year of seminary, into first philosophy. You're starting studies again. You're from Dolores, Colorado, which is southern Colorado.
Yeah, it's in the Four Corners, way down. It's like a town of 900 people. Yeah, as I said earlier, small town, but I'm a country boy at heart. But there you go. I went and explored the world, until I found the seminary, found God's call. So I don't know if you want me to talk about it.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
yeah.
So kind of get into who I am, and I went off to grew up Catholic.
How big's your family?
I had 4 siblings, or I have 4 siblings, and just pretty much enjoyed the faith growing up, but we weren't like super, like devout. I mean, we went to church every Sunday and stuff. So, I definitely going to college. There was, I think, I'm thankful for a lot of things of growing up, but I also recognize how much I also kind of felt like I fell away from the faith essentially in college a little bit.
So where did you go to college?
I went to Oregon Tech up in Oregon.
Oregon Tech, nice.
I went to study civil engineering.
Okay.
And I kind of, going into college, it was a great, opportunity, kind of explore the world, right? Coming from this small town, experience life on my own.
Did you know in high school that you wanted to go out of state for college?
I think so. I actually, honestly, it was between Oregon Tech, because my dad went there. So it was kind of like, I knew the school already, and then, or CSU. I was really looking at CSU, but Oregon Tech won out.
I have 2 words: scope buffs.
Well, I can't say either way. I never.
You don't like the Rams. You didn't go there.
Yeah. What can I say? Sorry, Deacon Tony or Father Tony. Yeah. So hard to remember. He's Father now.
Yeah.
Cool. But anyways,
Oregon Tech.
Yeah, Oregon Tech, go Owls, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was small little college, tech school, and I had a great opportunity great time in college. But then kind of falling away from my faith. I rediscovered my faith through some kind of internal struggles that I've had. Had death real close to me and everything.
Oh wow.
And so just really questioning, right? What is this faith all about, right? Yeah. And so by God's grace. Was that
in college or after college?
That was it was a summer after my actually freshman year. So
was that a friend from college that
friend from high school?
From high school.
Yeah. It was really I just took it really hard.
Of course.
I just really, it was like eye-opening, and my grandfather actually passed away the same, a couple months later. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. It really challenged me. And, again, by God's grace, I somehow fell upon Augustine's Confessions, out of anything I could have read. I was like, that was what I needed. So I am so thankful. Augustine's a huge, I'm such a, he's my patron now.
Yeah. You and Deacon John Stang, who's been on the podcast, he was on, I don't remember which season, but he also was a big fan of Augustine's Confessions.
Yeah.
That was a huge part of his story.
Really? Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hearing that.
So his life is just so powerful.
It is. It's incredible. And obviously, living the college life and kind of, there is obviously some degrees of relatability. He had a really extreme life, so I couldn't relate to it, to some extent. But I think, living in the world, and living, we can see how much we can relate to Augustine's first part of his life,
right.
And accepting the cultural norms that we, see in today. It's okay, there's something truly radical in living a Catholic life. And Augustine, took him a long time, but he finally found that.
Right.
And I think that his story and showing his story really just shook me and challenged me to look at my own faith a little bit harder, a little bit more, intensely. And so I didn't really have it was a radical conversion in one sense, but it wasn't so intense that I dropped everything and went to
right.
seminary. I had a little more time.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah.
It's because I mean that's usually how God is at work, right? Is there's kind of like one initial seed, and then it draws us in to some extent, but then we end up coming up against obstacles to continuing to know Him, or we get distracted again, or whatever it may be. But that experience, like for you reading the Confessions of Saint Augustine, it sticks with you. And that's what's so amazing is like all of our experiences with God, they don't just like disappear, but they're part of, they become part of who we are, and they shape and they form us. And so no matter what happens, and I think this is a great consolation for all of us, is like, because we've had those experiences of God, maybe, whether it be on like a retreat or reading a book or even just like a weekend mass or something like that. We have those powerful experiences of God. And then just through the normal everyday life, we find ourselves falling away again or walking astray, or being that sheep who's kind of running away into the forest. Yeah, we heard that mass today, right?
Yeah.
We find ourselves as that sheep, even though we've been in the flock, even though we've experienced, we fed upon, the great food that our Lord, or the sweetness of the bread that He has, or the refreshing water that He's given us. We have that experience where we've tasted it, but we still find ourselves separated from it again. And maybe it wasn't that extreme for you in your life, but knowing that like that becomes part of us.
Yeah.
And then God can continue to use that and build on it and draw us in again.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful grace that it continues to shape us. And you're right. Yeah. I mean, after that, it was a constant up and down of, coming back and going away and coming back from the Lord and going away. It's like, it was like looking back, I'm like, wow, the Lord has so much patience with me. Like, it's incredible, because I went to my next journey of, towards, where I'm at today. Right. I was up in Alaska, and I was, had this Eucharistic, moment where it was like, I had to trust in the Lord. And it's this, great, long out, drawn out story. But like, I essentially, went out into the wilderness of Alaska and like had to really trust in the Lord. And so that was another moment of like, okay, I really have to trust, and a really radical moment where I was like, all right, I'm in your hands, Lord, like do with me as you will. And right. he used that. He totally, he used that and went with it and drew me closer. And I was formed, trying to figure out my faith a little bit more. And so by the time I graduated, I'd been, reading a lot more, leading, club, like the Newman Club and, the Catholic Club on campus and stuff. And just, getting involved with Focus,
Cool.
And, but I still, graduated, still didn't know what I wanted to do.
So that time in Alaska, was that one of your summers?
Yeah, that was one of my summers. Yeah. I had spent a summer in Alaska, working at an airport, Port Walsworth. So just, fun little experience. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah. And again, I mean, that's like literally in the wilderness. We talk about the sheep who wandered astray, but so it's like you're in the wilderness.
Literally. Yeah. I could have gotten eaten by bears and God saved me.
But because it's like a vulnerable place to be.
It is.
You're far away from everything that you knew, that you've been like grown accustomed to in your life. And you're up north. It's like completely different surroundings. You don't know anybody. Mm-hmm. There's not that many people around in Alaska to begin with, So community life must have been tough. All these different things.
Sure.
That you experience the poverty of kind of those different situations, and that drives us almost back into the Lord's hands.
And it drives us into the Lord's hands. But I'm so thankful for like the Catholicism we had growing up just really grounded me and helped me realize, okay, where did I come from and where am I going? And it just that poverty, like you're talking about, it really helps us, realize, okay, what has God given us, and be thankful for that. And truly like recognize, okay, thank you, God, for just all that you've given me. Now where do you want me? Where do you want me to go from here?
Totally.
And it's this directional, line,
Yeah.
So I really yeah, it was great. I mean, being an engineer, so I yeah, have all these math references, so you have to forgive me. But
That's great.
so after graduating, I actually went to work in construction for 3 years.
Okay.
And so
Good.
I was kind of, still trying to struggle with, right, not trying, I was still struggling with where God was really calling me. And so I worked for a company, a big construction company, and they sent me to California first for a year. And then I went to Hawaii for a year and a half.
Oh, man.
Aloha. And that's a place I really had, still struggling with where God was really calling me, right? He calls us all to be saints.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, these are formative years to grow in confidence, to grow in trust in the Lord. And through prayer and really talking with God, I came to that realization once I went to Molokai, Hawaii.
Oh, Molokai.
Yeah. If anyone's familiar with St. Damien of Molokai, he was the saint or priest who went out and served the lepers in Molokai, this little island where they sent all the lepers. And essentially they set the lepers to die on this little tiny island. And in paradise, it's
in Hawaii,
Hawaii,
which is one of the biggest destinations,
Right.
tropical destinations for everyone around the world.
Yeah.
That's where like people, of course. So it's like,
So it's kind of like
paradise
this weird,
almost.
It's this weird dichotomy where it's like, this is about 100 years ago, right? Or more than. And it's like, they were sending these, lepers to suffer, right? And so Damien, kind of jumped into the darkness,
Mm-hmm.
and he really served those lepers, bringing life to them. And so I did a retreat there.
Wow.
And it was just really powerful for me to see his witness and what he kind of started in bringing community and life to a place that was essentially dying in all terms of the word.
There's a line from St. John of the Cross, I think it is, that is really, really coming to mind. As you've been speaking, it's where there is no love, put love, and you will reap love. Like you will sow love. I think that's how it goes. Have you heard that before?
I have heard it. Yeah. And
where there is no love,
uh-huh.
put love.
Yep.
And you will receive and reap abundantly love.
And that's exactly what happened with St.
Right.
Damien. I mean, he put his life, he gave his life to these lepers. He had an opportunity to go back. The bishop of Hawaii was like, all right, Damien, you spent your time, you're good to go, get you out of here. And he's like, no, this is where I belong.
Yeah. These are the people who God has called me to serve.
Right.
These are his children, Yeah. And the rest of the society, the rest of everyone had basically abandoned them and left them to die.
And not of their own will. I mean, there was a terrible disease back then too. So it was like,
of course.
What do you do? But like, just to send them away with no structure. I mean, that was what they had to deal with.
So what were you up to around that time? You were working construction. What was your life like there?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was, working construction. It was, I was a field engineer. So I was essentially overlooking projects and, just the normal career, salary job. Right. So a lot of hours. But in that time, in working a career, hopefully growing in that career, right, I was feeling called in some other direction. So when I took time out of the job to go on this 3-day retreat, it was a huge shift in my mindset. And
did you have some good friends out there who were pretty influential?
Shout out to Epic. They're in empowering personal encounters with Christ. They're a great Catholic young adult group in Hawaii, and I just surrounded myself by these great people, and they were super formative. They aloha attitude. I'm still really good friends with them.
I'm still trying to figure out what this aloha attitude is.
It's hard to say. I had a hard time figuring out, and living there for a year and a half. But yeah, it's welcoming. It's just joy. I mean, it's just fun. We'll go.
Michael's got the hang loose in both hands right now, just letting it fly.
Dude, it's aloha, But yeah, these people, oh, they're great. I had such a great time, just learning about my faith. And then the retreat I went on with the young adults of the cathedral basilica the cathedral in Hawaii. And
so did you get to live with some of the people who were part of that community too?
I did not. I was living with a coworker at the time.
Oh, okay.
But
nice.
I, going over like almost every other day to those houses, I practically lived with them.
Right.
So, it was really good to go. And they have it's just so much love, I was like there was like 2 white guys. So I was like,
really?
Yeah.
The rest were Samoans?
Hawaiians, Samoan, Filipino. Like, I love their cultural, it's so great over there. And so it was kind of fun how they just welcomed me, and being willing to hear them and hear who they are, just like, obviously a great building relationship over there.
Yeah, it's a culture that's so much different.
Oh, absolutely.
What you grew up with and what you were used to, I'm sure. And even in Oregon, so much different than anything you would have experienced there in Oregon.
Absolutely. So anyways, going to Molokai and just, feeling like being surrounded by like good, faithful Catholics, working on, a really hard job, long hours. You just feeling something like more, feeling like called. So when I was praying in the chapel, and I've been praying about like priesthood for a while since then. But it's just like, when God calls, he really like doesn't let go. Right. And so I at that time, just seeing Damien's inspiration and even Marianne Cope, seeing what she picked up, what Damien started, St. Damien, and how she really brought, human dignity and starting the school, the hospital, all the things that she did. Just, I don't know, her motherly inspiration just helped me see, Mary's motherly inspiration.
Wow.
In my own life, in my own, call. And, I just in prayer, in kind of with Mary in a lot of ways, kind of surrounded by that motherly, right, that ideal of Marianne Cope. I just felt called. This is you go now, like go serve. And I didn't know what to do with it, And so after that, they actually sent me, the company sent me to Arizona to work for 6 months. And in that time, I was applying. And it's actually about this time, in Hawaii, I remember many a times listening to the podcast, Sons of Ours.
Oh.
And shout out to Father Carl, who recommended it.
Okay.
I was, just listening, going to work, working in construction, throw it on my, F-250, F-150 truck or whatever, just listening to it, out on the airfield where I was paving, or whatever. And it was great just, listening to the stories of like these guys being called
just like
to
be
priests.
Yeah. Or not just like you, but similar backgrounds, or just normal everyday guys.
Right.
That you like. Guys who you could probably picture yourself working with at the construction site almost, or
so true.
Guys that were similar to who you would have spent time in college with, or spent your time in Epic. It's just like another guy who is like, why not me? That's
why I would say the Sons of Ours was actually very formative to help me, give me the courage, right? Give me the confidence. I talk about like, for me, there was just a building of confidence. And building of trust, building that relationship with God. And once I had that relationship, it was like there was no other reason. There was no other way I could answer his call, but go to the seminary. And
so as you've been talking, there's just one thing that's kind of coming to mind right now is you experienced at least the inklings of a call in a place that really had been made home by a mother who imaged Mary to you. And that inkling of the call led you to seminary, led you into the arms of the church in a certain sense, right?
Absolutely.
And really like Mary is like that perfect icon of the church.
Oh, she's so
and
great.
So it was that atmosphere being kind of like in a home created by a mother, created by was it Marianne Cope? Marianne Cope. That's right. St. Marianne Cope. That led you to a place back into the arms of a mother where that initial call that you experience could be cultivated and formed. And really, in a sense, like that's a lot of what seminary is like discovering anew our own dignity and identity as beloved sons. And just almost like the lepers, right? Like we experience ourselves in seminary, we experience our own poverty, and it's through that home of a mother that we're able to be brought back to life, that we're able to discover who we are, that we're able to discover our dignity. And from that fertile ground, from that home, then we're able to discover our vocation after we've received our identity. So it was beautiful. I was just like, got the chills as you were talking about that, right? Because it really is like in the arms of a mother, in the home of a mother, that we're able to come alive again. And so I just kind of saw that correlation and that tie, and just kind of like that mirroring of what was happening in Hawaii to kind of what's now happening in seminary.
It's so true. It's that, yeah, you're right. That home, being at home and feeling at home, and the mother makes that,
Right.
she obviously, there's the mother that makes the home, and just come back after school, have snacks
exactly.
or whatever, it's just like, so that transition, that makes it a lot easier when you have Mary, as our mother,
working in and through the church.
Right. Oh, yeah. All the time, and she played a huge role in, many people's lives, but I can see her role in my life many times over.
Right. Which is powerful. I mean, there's a powerful line. We can't call God Father unless we have called the church Mother.
Wow.
And in some ways, because Mary and the church are pretty. I mean, you can't know one without the other. You can't come to know Mary without being led into the church. You can't know the church without being led to Mary, because like she's the mother of all Christians. She's the mediatrix of all grace. All these different titles that we attribute to her, like she's the one. In some sense, we can't call God Father unless we have Mary as our mother.
Yeah. Sounds bold, but
it's bold, but
it's true.
Yeah. No doubt. And it's cool to see that come alive in your life.
Absolutely.
And to see, right, that kind of like that gift of self, that Saint Damien of Malachi came into the leper colony, put love where there was no love, planted a seed, and Saint Mary Ann Cope.
You're good. I'm sorry. I should have let you.
Saint Mary Ann Cope was able to take that seed, bring it to life, grow a fruitful tree, and then feed generation after generation with the fruit that came from that tree. She was the one who kept watering it through her and the sisters and everyone pouring out their lives as well, to continue to make this tree fruitful. And now it's like, for you, like that fruit that from their lives is now what you were able to taste that led you to seminary, that cultivated your vocation, all these different things. And so just to see the providence of God at work, and to see how important the figure of a mother is, I think for any of the listeners who are mothers out there, it's like, that's what they're doing when they're building the house of their own. That's what they're doing when they're raising their kids. And so many mothers that I've talked to, when they're going throughout their daily lives, they're spending most of the majority of their time with people who can't even have really like a normal conversation yet when their kids are young. And so in some sense, for some mothers, it's like, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. But it's all of those countless hours, that generous gift of self, that's building a home, that's building a place where people can come and know that they're loved, where people can discover their own identity, And that's that same thing that we've been talking about is what they get to build as well. So it's beautiful to see that at work in our lives.
Absolutely.
On Malachi.
Yeah. In our own
and then
families.
just down the street.
Just
in our own families.
Yeah. The witness of people we meet every weekend.
You
of
bet.
Mothers, It's such a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's cool. That's really is amazing. Wow.
I know.
I just love it. I love how the Holy Spirit works, because it's like I wasn't expecting to talk about this at all, but it's just cool.
It's so great. I mean, I threw that in there, and it's like, we didn't even talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great.
Yeah, and that's great. And so you're in your second year of seminary,
right?
And you're getting it. You're in the mother's arms.
I'm a baby seminarian,
Yeah, she's bringing you to life.
Bringing me to life.
Cultivate that seed of the vocation,
right?
And everything. Yeah.
So still learning, still trying to figure out theological concepts. Actually, philosophy right now.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Don't worry, so am I. So, you're not going to figure it all out in seminary, as you are well aware.
Oh yes, but it's still always good.
So, and then the second point, which is it's awesome, and this is one other reason why it's just so great to have you on the podcast, is to see how it's borne fruit in your life, and for Father Ian, for myself, for Father Tony, even Jacob Machado, it's great. It's amazing to see that something so simple, two goofballs getting behind a microphone, is able to have some impact in someone's life, lead them closer to Christ, and lead them to discovering anew their own vocation, their own call, and in some senses, like that's what it's all about. That's why we started in the first place. That's why we undertook the project 3 or 4 years ago, 3 years ago. I'm trying to remember. 3 years ago, I think.
3 years ago, if I remember correctly.
And so it's almost surreal, like being able to have this conversation with you now, just like knowing kind of like how it got started, and just like the labor that we had put in, and kind of the different moments for like, what should we keep going forward? Like, what do we do? Like,
right.
And then especially last year, the first time that you came up to me
I was so
and
excited.
told me,
I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was like,
it's them.
Wow, like this is so awesome. Right. And it's nothing, right? It's not like because Father Ian or I or Father Tony or Jacob or anything special, but it's all about just being able to hear and witness the providence of God at work in people's lives.
Absolutely.
And hearing those stories, witnessing God at work in those people's lives, seeing the one kind of small act of courage that they were able to muster up to say yes, because they had been filled with the confidence in God's plan, in God's goodness, in His authority, and in His power, was then able to be at work in your own life, to lead you to the point where you're able to make that same yes. So I think like that's really what's at the heart of the Sons of Ours podcast, right? Is continuing to cultivate vocations.
Absolutely.
Continuing to instill in people the same confidence that you found afterwards, confidence in God the Father, so that whatever it is, maybe it's not seminary, maybe it's not religious life, maybe it's not going to Malachi to hang out with the lepers, but whatever it is, God has that plan for each and every individual soul.
Absolutely.
And He's waiting, and He's asking, and He's knocking for us to say yes.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of really that's what's at the heart, That's at least of what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's great that you're able to be here. And
again, as I said, it's such a joy to be here, like on the air. I never would have imagined this. As you said, like 3 years ago, when I started listening, it was just like, oh, they're cool. That's awesome. They're doing podcasts. Like I would have never thought I would be here and like speaking to you, even face to face. Like that was not in my plans at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that's why, man, Father Tony being ordained, Father Ian being ordained, myself looking forward to ordination in May. It's really exciting to have you on, and the hope for myself and is to be able to have you be the one who comes in and keeps on the podcast, and we've talked about that before, and so that's kind of one of the big, for everyone listening, like that's one of the big things that we're doing today is we're handing over the reins to Michael Sparks.
And I'm going to try to do my best, big shoes to fill. But I love what you said about just, the idea of the podcast, is to, continue to inspire, bring confidence, and just in seeing that in my own life, I really want to do that. I want to give back what I have received in a lot of ways. Yeah. Awesome. And so I, accept those reins.
Heck yeah.
Wholeheartedly. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. And it's because of your story. It's like, there's no better person, to come on and to start hosting the podcast. And, it's kind of one of the beautiful parts about Sons of Ours is it's a seminarian podcast, and so it doesn't make sense for a bunch of priests to be running it. And so what's awesome is because you're so much different than the four of us, and because God has worked in your life in such different ways, in such unique ways, you and whoever else joins you is going to be able to bring the podcast like in a new direction, or it'll probably have a similar theme, similar flair, but you guys will be able to do something on the podcast, through the podcast, that we weren't able to do. So that's what's so beautiful, and thinking about just kind of like where the podcast is going.
Yeah,
it's like you guys are able
we're gonna let the Holy Spirit guide it.
Exactly.
I'm still a baby seminarian, so trying to get all the the wording and everything. So, but I you're right. I mean, just we'll see what happens, and I'm gonna let the Holy Spirit totally drive this.
Awesome.
And God willing, it bears fruit.
Yeah, we keep praying, because right now, just in the world that we're living in and everything. And it's just like, in some sense, the crisis of vocations that we're experiencing, and the fear and anxiety that grips so many young men, young women's hearts. We need like any different resource that we can to keep giving us the courage, to say yes to the Lord, to give him a shot to work in our lives. And so it's just like, it's perfect.
That's great. That's great. And
praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord and give him thanks. And he will do wonders. God, when you give him an inch, he'll give you a mile.
Yeah. That never outdone in generosity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on to the podcast, and we're looking forward to hearing more from you in the future. And I can't wait to see what God's going to continue to do through you and through whoever else joins you. And I think I was telling you this before, but it's like, it's kind of bittersweet coming to the end of seminary, because seminary has been such a huge gift, and really is. I mean, just like who I was when I came to seminary and how the Lord has brought me to where I am now. It's just amazing. And the line, I shared this, we had our seminary appeal a couple weekends ago, and the main line that I was sharing, I'm going to repeat again, because it's, how can I repay the Lord for all that he has done? How can I repay the Lord? just so much gratitude for everything that seminary's been. And so it's amazing to recognize that. It's so, I'm looking forward so much to finally being able to go into the vocation of being a priest. And so it's great to have both of those, to be so grateful. And then at the same time, it's like there's a certain element of sadness and then leaving it behind and going boldly into what's to come. And yeah, I was telling you just like how much I miss Father Ian and Father Tony and some of these guys in seminary. And so it's
real.
Yeah,
brotherhood, fraternity that
right.
you built up. It's real, and I'm building my own right now.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's a joy to see that.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, you bet.
But and we'll always have you back on too.
That's right.
We'll
see.
We'll see.
Sounds good. Cool.
So.
Well, that's kind of all we had for today. We look forward to hearing from Michael in the future, but we're hoping that get the Sons of Ours podcast going again, and we apologize for that huge gap in between, but that's fine. It's just the nature
seminary
of life.
life.
Yep. Seminary life. So yeah, thanks again for coming on, Michael.
Thank you for having me, Micah.
Yeah.
It's truly a joy.
Awesome. All right, you've been listening to Sons of Ours podcast.
Sons of Ours with an A.
That's right. We've trained you well. All right, we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.